Hello, everyone, and welcome to the thru Recovery Life podcast. My name is John, and I am an alcoholic in West Palm Beach, Florida. My sobriety date is September 13th of 1982. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and hit the notifications button so you'll know when we upload new videos. You can recover quickly in Alcoholics Anonymous by having the steps become a way of life for you sooner than later. In this episode, we are discussing what's the difference between sharing and cross-talking in an AA meeting. And I'm going to preface this podcast by saying that whatever quote-unquote rules a particular group has concerning crosstalk, you need to follow it, or you can start going to another group. And I encourage people to attend other meetings along with their home group meetings. And I always jokingly or half-jokingly say, if you haven't been to a bad meeting, then you're not going to enough meetings. Spread your horizon, spread your wings, check out different meetings. All right, so treatment centers have helped many people recover from alcohol and drug addiction. And some things that came into AA via the treatment centers have been good, such as the 90 and 90, the 90 meetings in 90 days. That originated in treatment centers because that's what they suggest to their departing clients to attend 90 meetings in 90 days, because they know that the answer is not just in the treatment. The answer, the long-term solution, is in Alcoholics Anonymous. However, some things that have spilled over into AA via the treatment centers have confused many members of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of those is the no cross-talking rule. That rule did not originate in Alcoholics Anonymous because when AA first started, those meetings were very, very informal. People just sat around in their living room and talked. And prior to May of 1939, there were only 2 AA meetings in the world on Tuesday nights. One was in Akron, Ohio, and the other was in New York, I believe sometimes in New Jersey as well. New York in Bill's home, and I think sometimes in New Jersey in Hank P's home. And those meetings took place, again, they were very informal. So Ebby Thatcher, Ebby T, was a member of the Oxford group and brought the good news of sobriety to Bill W. The Oxford group even had a thing called checking, whereby members would tell each other what God had revealed to that person to pass on to that particular individual. For example, Joe would tell Steve what God had revealed to Steve about in a dream. All right. So again, for example, Joe would tell Steve what God had revealed to him, usually in a dream, about Steve. That was called checking in the Oxford group. And we got a lot of what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous through the Oxford group. So be careful, though, when saying someone's name during your share, because you might be making that person very uncomfortable, even if you're paying them a compliment. Remember, we are very sensitive, hypersensitive. Actually, we're very emotionally immature. But we say that we're sensitive. I've been sober over 40 years, and I can still be emotionally immature at times, even at 62 years of age, 40 years of sobriety. So you want to be careful. Even when you're paying someone a compliment, you may be making them feel uncomfortable. So it's best not to mention a person's name during your share. You can always say, I agree with the previous share, or I agree with what was said earlier. And again, there's nothing wrong with sharing in a general way without using that person's name. But also, there's nothing wrong if you say, I agree with what Bill had to say. I agree with what Mary had to say. That is not cross-talking if you go on to share your experience, strength, and hope. And let me tell you that I'm never wrong when I share in an AA meeting. I am never wrong when I share in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I'm never wrong if I'm speaking in first person singular, meaning me and I. If I use those words, then I'm telling you what applies to me. I'm telling you what works for me, so I'm never wrong. Now, if I'm telling you what you should do or giving you some advice, then I'm subject to being wrong. So you never have to be wrong either when you share in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting if you talk about your own experience, strength, and hope, and what works for you and your recovery. So keep that in mind. As long as you're talking about yourself, chances are you're not wrong if you're telling people what works for you. And right now I'm going to read an article from the AA Grapevine. It's an online article by Lily Joy, and I'll put a link to that article in the description as well. When I came into AA 29 years ago, crosstalk was wisely not allowed at meetings. However, it meant something different than it does now. Back then, crosstalk meant two people talking back and forth instead of each person getting a turn to speak uninterrupted. No one could even interject a comment during someone else's share. No crosstalk also meant not criticizing what another person said, not telling someone what to do about their problems, and not analyzing anyone else's psyche or situation. All good things to avoid. But we could directly address anyone and everyone at the meeting, as long as it was during our own turn. You could say, "Thank you for what you said in your share," and then explain why it had been helpful or why you related to it. In that same spirit of AA fellowship, you could offer condolences if someone shared that a loved one had died. Nowadays, any of this is usually ruled out as crosstalk. You could also ask for help with a sobriety-related problem, or a newcomer could ask a question. As the meeting proceeded, anyone who desired would address the problem or question. Mind you, they could not tell you what to do or analyze you or your situation because that would have been considered crosstalk. Instead, they would say what had worked for them. They shared their experience, strength, and hope. Any of this might be outlawed as crosstalk nowadays. When a personal question or problem raised at the meeting became the meeting's topic, we were the heart of AA's purpose. Such meetings helped everyone. In the past, people could also directly welcome a newcomer. If newcomers or old-timers want to go somewhere no one will talk to us, we can go to a bar. We sat around talking to ourselves in our drinking days. Sobriety happens through the healthy interaction of bravely saying what is going on with you and humbly listening to how others dealt with the same situations. Banishing this misses one of the actual reasons for meetings. The original AAers would not have stayed sober if, when they got together as a group, they were not allowed to address each other's shaky sobriety. No crosstalk was created to stop us from getting in each other's faces. But alcoholics often take a good idea to the extreme. So it has gone with this issue, causing problems as bad as the ones the original idea was meant to solve. Taking things to the extreme is a way alcoholics try to control others, which builds walls. Newcomers do not get welcomed. People don't get help. Members complain about a lack of fellowship and caring. Let's clear up the current misinterpretation of crosstalk to once again allow the real AA of people saying, "I need help and I love you" when we gather. And again, I will put a link to that whole article in the description. And as I said, crosstalk, it's not cross-talking if you say, "I agree with what Jane had to say because I've had a similar experience." If you don't like what a person shared, you do not have to say, I disagree with Jim. Just share your own experience, strength, and hope. In AA, we can disagree without being disagreeable. But if your group has a policy, then go by what they say or find another group. The reason this started out in treatment centers is because when they sat around in a circle, and I have never been to a treatment center. When I got sober in the Marine Corps back in 1982, it was outpatient. But definitely we didn't, it wasn't a treatment center. So, but again, in treatment centers, when they sit around in a group and start to share, cross-talking is when you call on Joe, and Joe says, well, you know what Barbara needs to do? Barbara needs to blah, 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 blah. And Jim, you know what you need to do, Jim? You need to do this, blah, 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 blah. And Mary, this is what you need to do. And Jesse, this is what you need to do. That is cross-talking. And that's what started in the treatment centers and spilled over into Alcoholics Anonymous. But again, you don't want to make a person feel uncomfortable or disrespected with your share. You don't want to give advice. You want to share your experience, strength, and hope. And even when you're hosting a meeting on Zoom or in person, they tell you don't comment after each person's share, because that is cross-talking. That is cross-talking when you comment after each person's share and you give them advice. Or even if you share your experience after each share, that is not right. As the host of the meeting, as a person leading the meeting, you are there as a facilitator. You're not there to comment after each person's share. If you'll know in your heart when to give empathy and when to give some brief information. But some people leading a meeting will comment after each share and take away from the rest of the people other shares. And on a side note about sharing in an AA meeting, if there is a topic, it's best to share on that topic, or go to a meeting where you can share whatever you feel like sharing. If you're in a STEP meeting or literature meeting, you should share on those topics. Your sponsor or sober support are there for you to talk about your day or how you're feeling or where you're at in your sobriety, and not in a topic meeting. If you're in a topic meeting, it's best to share on the topic. And don't be surprised if the person hosting the meeting stops your share and asks you to share on the topic. So once again, thank you for listening to the thru Recovery Life podcast. Today we talked about the difference between sharing and cross-talking in an AA meeting. My name is John A., and I am an alcoholic in West Palm Beach, Florida. My sobriety date is September 13th of 1982. Feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you can be notified when we upload new videos. Leave a comment and we will respond. If you like our message of recovery, please share our podcast site with others. And we have 10 meetings a day now, soon to be 12 meetings each day in the same room from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. at night. Thank you. Have a great day. And remember, you never have to have a bad day, just bad moments.